Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday to you, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. Lembit Oak will be with us in a short while. But if you wanted to know just how much of your social media is captured by the Israelis, you only have to look at the people who are clamoring for a war against Iran and are out there left, right and center banging on about this. And in fact, almost the world and his wife is on X and other platforms on social media, of course, asking for all of this, shall we say, to be going on. It is quite incredible. And you have to look at who's behind this and what's behind it. And we're going to do that tonight. We're going to give you the complete lowdown. Not that we haven't done so before in telling you exactly all about these people who have been up to all sorts of crazy stuff. And they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep trying. And they're going to keep pushing this agenda because it is, without any doubt whatsoever, being driven by America and Israel. And of course, you will see your social media just taken over by these people, the Israelis, just banging out absolutely everything. And every bought senator and every bought person you can possibly imagine is out there clamoring for a war that is going to cost a lot of lives and is going to cost Israel very, very dearly. Now, let's be absolutely clear here. Israel trying to do it on their own, they've got no chance. They will be beaten by Iran in a very short space of time indeed. Iran are not out there attacking everybody. And of course, they have tried to overthrow the whole of Iran, of course, with the agents, NGOs, and everybody else that's out there, of course. And if you want to know just how bad these people are, we're going to get into it, and we're going to get into it in very heavy doses. Trump's so-called peaceful protesters, let's have a look at them. These are the peaceful protesters in Iran. Now, these mainly peaceful protesters, of course, have got hold of all sorts of weapons. Going to give you a little heads up about how wonderful they are. The trouble that you have, of course, is these peaceful protesters are nothing of the sort. Earlier on yesterday, they threw Molotov cocktails into a mosque at children. These are the peaceful protesters, of course, who are looking after every.
He froze up.
Yeah, it's not me then. It must be Warren.
No, yeah, it'll come back in seconds. It's Warren.
Nonsense to you so that you will eventually turn around and go, oh, well, it must be true. And of course, if it just keeps soaking you in this nonsense, you have to remember as well, Lee Williams, very quickly.
A quick one. Are these people that are here doing this, are they Iranians at all?
No, they're absolutely not. Absolutely no chance. The problem that we have is some of these are Iranians that have gone over the other side, shall we say, but most of these people have come through, shall we say, the Zangezur corridor. Now, we have mentioned this, and if you've been a fan of the show and you've been following it, just to give you an idea here, this is the Zangezur corridor, okay? This is Armenia, Azerbaijan, and this is the Zangezur corridor here, which is now in the hands of the Americans. Now, not only are the oil companies in there, but also the paramilitary companies as well. These are run by private military contractors, which basically means mercenary. So they've been able to go into Iran and also get terror groups from various places in there so that you would actually believe that this was some sort of organic thing. It is not. This is America, this is Saudi Arabia, and this is Iran trying to overthrow the government of Iran. Now, this has pretty much been their wet dream for ages and ages and ages. It's going to keep continuing, never going to stop. And of course, we're going to get more and more as we build up towards the bombing, because the overthrow has not worked. And this is something that is making, shall we say, everybody very, very nervous, and something they want. Let's have a little look at some of the history of the CIA and everybody trying to overthrow Iran.
The United States has taken the profits from the Iranian oil. Shah Farari Shodeh, the people cry.
Ever since the revolution of 1979, US presidents have viewed the Islamic Republic of Iran, under the rule of the Ayatollahs, as a threat and as an enemy, and the feeling's pretty mutual.
Iran's leaders have shown only a clenched fist.
آمریکا و انگلیس رو نگاه بکنید. هر جا دیکتاتوری و ترور و آدمکشی است، دست اونها در کاره.
For decades, Iran has fueled the fires of sectarian conflict and terror.
Death to America, Khamenei told the audience, because America is the original source of this pressure.
But what if it was blowback from US policies that helped the Ayatollahs take over in the first place? Americans often ask, why can't Iran have a secular democratic government? Well, they kind of did, and it was the US that helped get rid of that government and paved the way for the Ayatollahs and the Islamic Revolution. You have to go back to 1953 and the coup against Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who was democratically elected. A former Time magazine Man of the Year, the populist Mossadegh had a great deal of support from ordinary Iranians. He reduced the powers of the autocratic king, the Shah, and nationalized the Iranian oil industry. That upset the British, who had been in control of Iran's oil, and they decided to take action.
We should not allow the biggest foreign asset in Britain to go without doing something about it.
The sooner, then, that he left power, the better for Persia. Not for us, for Persia.
Right. So the British persuaded the Americans, in the form of the Eisenhower administration, to join them in getting rid of Mossadegh.
The British understood the extent of paranoia in this country concerning communism. This was the day of Joe McCarthy, and that the British consciously played on that fear in order to help persuade us to involve ourselves in the coup.
Mossadegh was not a communist, but he did have the support of the country's Communist Party. So the CIA, just 6 years old, swung into action. CIA agent Kermit Roosevelt, grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt, arrived in Tehran in July of 1953 to implement Operation Ajax. Thanks to declassified CIA documents, we now know the details of that plan included persuading the Shah to sign 2 decrees sacking Mossadegh and replacing him with a pro-American general, paying mobs of protesters to take to the streets and start anti-government riots, and funding a propaganda campaign to portray Mossadegh as a pro-Soviet communist.
That mob that came into North Tehran and was decisive in the overthrow was a mercenary mob, had no ideology, and that mob was paid for by American dollars.
By August, Mossadegh had been forced from office and the Shah was back in full control. "I owe my throne to God, my people, my army, and to you," the jubilant Shah told Roosevelt and the CIA, as he kicked off a 26-year period of brutal dictatorship, which would end up sparking the Islamic Revolution in 1979. By the way, none of this is disputed anymore. The Clinton administration fessed up in 2000.
The Eisenhower administration believed its actions were justified for strategic reasons, but the coup was clearly a setback for Iran's political development.
But even when US leaders openly admit to the US role in the Iranian coup, they try and play it down. Here's Barack Obama speaking in 2015.
We had some involvement with overthrowing a democratically elected regime in Iran.
Some involvement? Some involvement? Seriously? It may have been a British idea, but the coup itself was instigated, organized, executed, and financed by the CIA. And here's a key point, a bit a lot of people seem to be unaware of. Declassified documents seem to suggest the CIA also worked with hardline members of Iran's Shia clergy, including Mossadegh's one-time ally, Ayatollah Abul Qasim Kashani, the Speaker of Parliament, and they worked with him to help bring down that secular democratic government and bring back the Shah. See, a lot of Shia clerics back then weren't happy about Mossadegh's alliance with the communists or his generally secular outlook, and so both the CIA and Britain's MI6 offered to fund those clerics, including the powerful and influential Ayatollah Kashani. Ayatollah Kashani was a mentor to Ayatollah Khomeini, yes, the same Khomeini who would later topple the despised Shah and found the theocratic and anti-American Islamic Republic of Iran in 1979.
Mossadegh back in 1953. Nobody knows who Mossadegh was. Democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran. He was overthrown by British and American interest because he threatened oil interest of the British. And as a result of that, the Shah of Iran came in, terrible dictator. As a result of that, you had the Iranian Revolution coming in, and that's where we are today. Unintended consequences.
Unintended consequences, or what's known in the intelligence business as blowback. In fact, the very concept of, the very term blowback, was first coined by the CIA in relation to Iran in a secret internal report on lessons learned from the coup against Mossadegh. A coup, remember, that backfired and yet nevertheless became a model for later CIA interventions from Guatemala to Chile. And whether it's coups, assassinations, invasions, more than 60 years later, the US is still in the regime change business with all of the attendant chaos, extremism, bloodshed, and blowback. I mean, the current US administration is talking about regime change in Iran. Again.
Our policy towards Iran is to push back on this hegemony, contain their ability to develop, obviously, nuclear weapons, and to work towards support of those elements inside of Iran that would lead to a peaceful transition of that government.
Peaceful. Yes, of course. No problem whatsoever. Just in case everybody's in any doubt whatsoever about this, put this together. Have a little look at this. This will tell you exactly who they're using, who's behind it, where the money's coming from. let's give you a little heads up here. Vic called it. Vic George, who frequents the show, 2.8 million of that funding, we can now let you know, came from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office through the Bank of England. That's right. $2.8 million, 2.8 million pounds, sorry, has been gone towards this group that has come out of the City of London. Okay. So when he says that there are many, many shakers and movers in the City of London, it's not wrong. And of course, many people will turn around and go, this can't be true. We're not doing this. They're terrible, terrible people. Israel will bomb anywhere. Have a little look at this.
Why do we accept that Israel has a nuclear bomb? This is absolutely unacceptable. No, you call Iran the main threat, but look at Israel bombing Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, what else? Qatar recently. Secondly, why did you not condemn or even mention the fact that it was the United States that pulled out of the nuclear deal? It was not Iran, it was the United States pulling out. And finally, why did we not condemn, as the European Union, the illegal US-Israeli strikes on Iran, which made a lot of civilian casualties, and which made nuclear diplomacy more difficult, not less difficult? And we're saying, hey guys, we're the good guys, we care about nuclear non-proliferation and about human rights, while we're worsening the situation. We're imposing sanctions that hurt ordinary Iranians that have it more difficult now to buy medicine, to buy basic goods. And let's be honest, our policies have only one goal, and that is weakening Iran in order to turn it into a new Syria, a new Lebanon, a new Iraq. And that the people of the region will not stand for.
And he's absolutely right. Iran have released well, they've had a press conference turning around and saying that anything that America and Israel do, as far as they are concerned, will be a legitimate target for them to hit. And of course, we've had this complete plum.
هدف ما دیگر صرفاً آمدن به خیابان نیست. هدف آمادگی برای تسخیر مراکز شهرها و حفظ آنهاست.
Now, this is the son of the former Shah asking people to take control of the city centres and everything else. And of course, he's desperate, shall we say, to get his name up there. He wants to be in charge, and he's not going to stop banging on about that left, right, and centre. The trouble is, they've got, of course, is when we talk about Iran and trying to overthrow the government, is the Iranian people have been coming out and protesting for the people that are in charge of Iran, which has really, really upset everybody. And of course, we've got, have a look at this. So there we are. We're getting loads and loads of people coming out on social media and coming out with this nonsense. It turns out that, of course, they're not Iranian at all. They're actually Israelis. In fact, there was a massive thing going around. I don't know if anybody saw it. There was a massive picture going around about an Iranian freedom fighter woman. And it was showing her wonderfully burning this effigy of the Shah, I believe it was. Let's just have a look there. Oh, we've got a bit of a break there for a second. 2 seconds. Let's try and get back into that if we can. Now, basically what happened was they had this terrible picture. We'll see if we can get it up again. I'm sure we have it somewhere. This picture of a woman saying that, of course, it was absolutely terrible. I'm fighting for women's rights. And everybody put this forward as being the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everybody was going to be absolutely fine with it. This woman was going to be brilliant. She was going to be the face or the poster campaign of what was going forward. Turned out, after all, that this woman, of course, lived in Canada. She had absolutely nothing to do with it. On top of that, Israeli officials have been posting, would you believe this? They've been posting, children in Iran are starving and are hungry in amongst all the protests. This is actually a picture of what happened after they bombed Gaza. But they've been putting this out as though it is Iranian children. This is Palestinian children in Gaza, desperate for food after, of course, they've been completely screwed over, shall we say, and bombed the living daylights out of them, which is quite crazy. But of course, they're turning around and saying that this is perfectly normal, it's perfectly okay, and this is Iran that are all behind this. And nothing could be further from the truth. Rubio's at it again. The United States supports the brave people of Iran. Well, that would be lovely if you actually did, Marco. But what you're actually supporting is the people who are taking part in the protests. And when it comes to Marco Rubio, this guy is about as dangerous as you can get. He is not going to stop. And in fact, I've put together a little montage for you. Because if Rubio gets in when the next presidential election comes around in America, you can see this happening. You genuinely can.
Do it, General.
You're insane. I won't.
Do it! Put your hand on the scanning screen and you'll go down in history with me.
As what? The world's greatest mass murderers?
You cowardly bastard! You're not the voice of the people. I am the voice of the people. The people speak through me, not you. It came to me while I slept, Sonny. My destiny. In the middle of the night, it came to me. I must get up now, right now, and fulfill my destiny. Now you put your goddamn hand on that scanning screen, or I'll hack it off and put it on for you. Do it!
May God forgive me.
Congratulations, General.
Complete the sequence, Mr. President.
My destiny. Thank you, Sonny. Let them come up.
This is not necessary, Mr. President. We have a diplomatic solution.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Secretary, the missiles are flying. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That is where we're heading if Marco Rubio has anything to do with it. Marco Rubio has been in a phone call today with Benjamin Netanyahu, and I bet you can't guess what the conversation has been about. And of course, also on the call was John Radcliffe of the CIA, obviously informing Netanyahu that the riots that they had have not worked, and they haven't worked. There's a couple of things that we need to go over. We're going to give you exactly what has happened here because the statement literally has come out from the Iranians, and the Iranians' national spokesman, Saeed Montazar al-Mahdi, announced on Friday that field observations include General Calm has returned to the cities nationwide following a wave of riots. Speaking to Tasnim news agency, he attributed the unrest to armed groups, foreign-backed elements by the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, wow, and terrorist attacks orchestrating violence, arson, which we've just seen, and attacks on public infrastructure. What Western media failed to show and admitted was the glorification of the riots are the protests against the criminal actions of foreign-backed agents of chaos. Ordinarily, Iranians reportedly prevented further violence. Provincial reports noted no major gatherings or disturbances on Friday night or Saturday night either, despite limited attempts at disruption and a mass campaign on social media. That's why the internet was cut off. So basically stop these actors from doing all sorts of crazy things. Now, there were some deadly attacks. 3 police officers were killed last Friday night in Fars province and surrounding areas. Several members of Tehran's criminal investigation police were killed on Thursday night by Kalashnikovs. 2 peaceful protests. 2 police were killed Thursday night in Korn. 2 security force members were killed in Shustar, and 1 Basti militia member killed Thursday night in Kazvin after confronting rioters attempting to burn a petrol station. Again, peaceful protesters. A local prosecutor and 4 security force members, 2 police and 2 Basil, were killed in a northeastern town of Esavarin after assailants set fire to the mosque while they were inside praying. By Thursday, at least 270 police officers have been injured, some by military-grade firearms, and 3 were burned alive with flamethrowers. Now, you have to ask, don't you, where peaceful protesters and these people that they're supposedly honouring, we're supposedly honouring here in the West, as some sort of peaceful protesters, then they very quickly became freedom fighters. Then they became warriors for the Western nations, obviously getting rid of these horrible, horrible people. One of the people who has pushed forward for this, of course, is Mr. Rothschild himself, the younger Jacob. He wants to see Donald Trump go in as quickly as possible. And of course, there are many, many other agitators on top of that. In fact, social media has gone completely ballistic with some of these people. And I have to say a massive thank you to Graham, who's one of our subscribers. He has sent me the information, RAF from RAF Mildenhall, of tankers that are heading to the Middle East. Now, jets are headed there as well with these fuel tankers. And of course, he sent us all the relevant documentation to prove that these tankers and these jets are actually flying off to the Middle East. We've got lots and lots of pictures of all sorts of accompanying, shall we say, bits and pieces. My grateful thanks to him because he's done some sterling work on this. And of course, turning off transponders, all sorts of things like that. And of course, they did take part, if you remember rightly, in the effort to overthrow or take over the tanker. You know, the tanker that belonged to a Ukrainian oligarch. Ended up, it was 17 Ukrainians working there and 3 Russians, 2 of which have been let go by the Americans. And of course, let's have a little look at this. And of course, this is all Graham's work, nothing to do with me. But he has sent me this stuff so that we can share with you that there is a build-up coming. There is nothing more certain than this is about to get worse and worse and worse. They're not going to stop. This is set in stone. There is going to be a strike on Iran. Doesn't matter how much people turn around and go, oh, they can't possibly done it. They actually burnt a shrine. There was a very old shrine that they set light to and everything else. No Iranian in his right mind would set fire to that shrine. Okay, it is something that is absolutely massively loved by all the people of Iran, not just, shall we say, the people who are more religious. It's a bit like burning down Nelson's column when it comes to Iranians. So it absolutely wouldn't happen. Elon Musk has joined in by changing over the flag of Iran back to the one they had when they had the Shah of Iran. I can't think of anything more childish, but they have done that. And of course, many, many people are turning around and saying, they've got to do this, they've got to do that. It is simply getting worse and worse and worse. And it's only going to get to the point where Israel join in. Where Iran and China start to join in. Lee Williams.
I was going to ask, you know, if they get caught in Iran, these Israelis, will they get community service or a little bit of prison? Because it's a little bit different now.
As far as we know, there are now 8 dead. This is why Trump said if you start shooting people. The woman who put the picture out all over the place, she was heralded as a freedom fighter. Turns out her name, it's probably not Morticia Adams, but she's a radical feminist who lives in Toronto, Ontario. She was bravely seen burning a picture of the Ayatollah. And of course, she was held up by the Israelis as this fantastic freedom fighter and everything else. Turned out she was nothing of the sort. And of course, many people. This is Iran and support for Iran that is going on. There was a march in the city centre against the protests, not for the protests. So you can see how much the nonsense. There's lots and lots of videos from days gone by that are now being shared as though they are some sort of, shall we say, what's the nice word for it? It shows that Iran really do need change and they want an overthrow. Shows nothing of the sort. Nillis.
Yeah, don't just Press TV, the Iranian news agency that's on Rumble, stopped broadcasting. Is that anything to do with the West, or is it to do with the Iranians that it's not?
No, it's to
anymore?
do with it's to do with the West, mate. It's to do with the West.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Eric Jones.
From what I understand, the Iranian people don't want the same thing to happen to Maduro to happen to their leader and have that happen, so they're in the streets about it. That's pretty much it, too.
So, as far as we're concerned, there's massive riots going on all over the place. Okay, this is the center of Tehran. This is meant to be the hot spot. This is a drive-through, 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, January the 10th.
خیابون پاسداران تهران ساعت 22:20 دی 1404 وضعیت کاملا آرام از ابتدای خیابون پاسداران تا انتهای اون همین وضعیت خیلی آرام و خلوت و فارغ از تجمع و اختشاش اینا رو شاهدش هستیم. خیابون پاسداران یکی خیابونی بود که تجمعی رو درش شاهد بودیم. تجمعات از روز پنجشنبه به امروز هر روز در حال کمتر شدن هست و امروز حتی نسبت به روز گذشته یعنی 19 دی هم تجمع کمتری شاهد بودیم. 20 دی 1404 ساعت حدود 10:30 وارد میدون هروی داریم میشیم. بعضی رسانه‌های ضد ایرانی اعلام کردن که اینجا امشب قوقاست، ولی همونطور که مشاهده میکنید در این ساعت خبری نیست و خالی. وضعیت میدون هروی تهران است که خالی، کاملا خالی، هیچ خبری هست. اختشاش حداقل تو این ساعت نیست، کاملا این بالا خیابون پایین تر است. میدون هروی خیابون بالای میدون هروی هم که اومدیم به همیشه کاملا خلوت هست.
So there we are. Absolutely nothing happening. Nillis.
Yeah, apparently tomorrow Monday is going to be mass demonstrations all over Iran in favour of the government. So, they're getting the people, mobilised to support them.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the internet, as Graham says, is being jammed by the Israeli Air Force and the Iranians of all, and of course, Iran are being blamed for taking it down. But the Iranians, sorry?
And apparently some of the footage that been on Western media of masses of people demonstrating have been taken from France, from Paris, demonstrations.
Yeah, there's tons of that going on. Just in case anybody was in any doubt about how bad it is out in the mainstream, it's quite incredible. You've got Parbley who wants the overthrow desperately. They're young heroes. No, they're not. They're Israelis. They're mercs, and they're obviously, shall we say, that horrible sprinter group who like to go around chopping people's heads off, who are now running around Iran trying to blow the place up, of course. And this sort of fits in with everything that we're being told all the time by these people who all turn around and go, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. X is at it. Elon Musk is fully behind it. Richard Branson has come out and said that he is fully behind it. And if you remember a while back, I called out a couple of people, which was quite horrible. Tommy Robinson, of course, has called this a fantastic day and we need to overthrow them as soon as humanly possible. Well, you will remember, of course, that somebody who was at the Tommy Robinson rally, if you remember, was Andrew Bridget. And of course, Andrew and I had been friendly at one point. And of course, I'd gone and covered a couple of his speeches up in London. In fact, should I say, I covered at least 2 or 3 of his speeches while he was up in London. And of course, Andrew Bridgen has had his say on this. Now, this was the rally that I was at with Andrew Bridgen, which was to do with COVID, if you remember, at the time, with him and his squeeze. Now, the thing that really irked me was when I saw him at the Tommy Robinson rally. He was along there with Sargon of Akkad and everything else. He was there with Rebel News or Rebel TV. He was there with 2C TV and everything in this wonderful event that was meant to make Britain great again. But it was a bit like an Israeli who's who. And at that time, I started to investigate whether Bridgen had actually sold out to the Israelis. Well, this is his tweet. Let's pray the Iranian regime falls soon and the people get the freedom that they desire, should be they desire, without further loss of life. I'm not going to say any more on that. I think you know which way the wind's blowing with Andrew Bridgen now. And of course, this was a guy that many, many people looked up to when, of course, he was sticking up for people left, right and centre when it came to the COVID vaccines. Lee Williams.
I was going to ask, is it a very, very famous place for cosmetics as well? A lot of ladies have all their features done, like their noses and that. It's massive in Iran, but then people wouldn't know that. Yeah.
Quite crazy, isn't it? Now, we do have a real problem for America because China have had enough of this. They know what's going on. They seem to always do, don't they? And Mao Ning has come out and made a very strong declaration indeed, saying that China are ready. Now, whether Iran take this, I would suggest they do, because Iran are very, very insular. They like to try and deal with the problems themselves, and they don't really trust anyone else. But might I suggest that they actually do something this time, because, of course, China have offered them any military and any other type of assistance they might need. And let's face it, if China are offering them men, which they are, and offering them weapons, which they are, I think they would be foolish not to take it. They've taken help from Russia with the S-300 and the S-400 system. Whether they've learned to operate it, not at the moment, but not hugely at the moment. But of course, they are going to learn to operate it, and at the time being, they've got Russians actually operating it for them. And we know that for absolute fact. The other thing that is really, really sort of, should we say, dashing out there is lots and lots of people are coming out and saying stuff on X. It is not surprising. I'm a tech bro who studied post-Soviet Russian in college and was raised by a Ukrainian family. Now, this is the technical director of X. Now, not only that, they've also the ones that changed the Iranian flag. So not only is the person who is in charge of Musk's Twitter a raging Ukrainian fan, no wonder we're shadow banned, she's also, or they are also, a raging Israeli fan. Slightly troubling. Do you think it could be? Do you think it could be right? It could be. So unbelievable, isn't it? Lembit will be with us very shortly. and of course, we'll be welcoming him to the show, and we'll get into some stuff with Lembit as well when it comes to this. But here's the sort of stupidity I'm going to show you here. This is a gentleman called Clay Travis, who has a huge following on X, who didn't bother to even see whether or not this was kosher before he posted it. Here it is. Iranian women burning the fire, the picture of the Ayatollah. And according to this idiot, Clay Travis, who has over 1.3 million followers, Iranian woman lights her cigarette with a burning photo of the Ayatollah. This is braver than anything any American feminist has done in the 21st century. Actually badass. Turns out she lives in Richmond Hill, Toronto. Oops. This is the sort of nonsense that is coming out all over the internet at the moment. And of course, Sky have also jumped in with their nonsense as well. And as we course we know who Sky is owned by, Nillis.
Yeah, I wonder if she got her $7,000 for doing that. Probably
Yeah.
she did.
Yeah. Did you get your $7,000, love? That's okay, as long as you got your dog. Let's have a look at what Sky is saying.
Of course, the situation in Iran is tense and it's a developing story. And in just the past few minutes, the Reuters news agency are reporting conversations had in Israel between the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. There's been a telephone call between the two men suggesting that Israel is on high alert. Netanyahu and Rubio, Reuters tell us, discussed the possibility of US intervention in Iran during a telephone call that was held a good few hours ago.
That's right. And this is according to these Israeli sources talking to Reuters, they say. And they're saying that Israel is on high alert for the possibility of any US intervention in Iran. So the context, of course, those protests in Iran, but we don't know much more detail of what was said by these security sources.
It comes on the back, of course, of President Trump saying, I think as reported in Diana's piece, that the US is ready to help. He said, just a few days ago, they were locked and loaded, willing to attack Iran, not boots on the ground, but perhaps airstrikes if Iran's regime continues to kill protesters, as we've been reporting. With the lack of internet access to the country, it's very hard to gauge the scale of the crackdown, but it is reported that the crackdown has begun. At least 116, I think we're saying now, may well have been killed by the regime.
Well, that's right. And it's very difficult to verify these figures, of course, because it's hard to get into the country. It's also hard to get information out, especially with that internet blackout. But it's clear that protesters are still going out onto the streets. And that is extraordinary, isn't it? We talked a little bit about the bravery of those protesters yesterday, but now we've got further threats from the authorities as well. We've had the country's Attorney General saying that anyone who did go onto the streets would be considered an enemy of God. That's a charge which carries the death penalty. So the warnings are ramping up, and yet still people are going out there.
Yes, definitely.
Right, let's be absolutely clear here. So far, 17 people from other countries have been arrested and 14 have been shot. And of course, they keep calling it a regime. It's the government of Iran. A regime would be somebody who goes around bullying everybody else, I would suggest. We are joined by Lembit Opik. He's just on the mic at the moment, but he will be with us in person. Hello, Lembit. How are you?
Not bad. Sorry about the delay. I was caught in appalling weather somewhere above Europe, which incidentally is covered in snow. So those who say that snow is a thing of the past are wrong. And my delay is living proof of that. Anyway, I'm here now, and thanks. I can't get the picture because the bandwidth is limited. As soon as I get back to the studio where I'm going to now, then I will be able to. Get the full glorious Technicolor.
Yeah, I did want to ask you, Lembit, because we spoke earlier, and you said you were utterly dismayed by the coverage. We're just about to the coverage from the mainstream media. I mean, it's almost unbelievably, incredibly pro-Israel all over the place. But that shouldn't come as a shock, should it?
It's not a shock. one problem that is one problem Iran has is the one you described. It's relentlessly being dismissed as some kind of a pretend country. It's actually got a much longer history, a much longer civilized history than the United Kingdom, really. I mean, the Persian Empire precedes the British Empire by thousands of years. And it's just disrespectful. People who actually know, people who know the uh, Iranians, they're just normal, well-adjusted people who just want to get on with their lives. And it's very difficult because I'm so suspicious and skeptical about the reporting now. I think the biggest problem is knowing what's really going on. The only way to really find out is by contacting people in Iran, but can't do that very easily at the moment. I would say one more thing, though. The most objectionable part to all of this is in the media, including the BBC. And wherever you stand on it, if the mainstream media is doing its job, it would bust the facts and make conclusions. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to do that, so that we can't get the information, and that's the problem. So agendas are being sought. You've already highlighted the kind of reasons for that, and that is really, really awful. It's just dreadful. Well, it's actually an offence to Iran. Obviously, some people don't like the regime, others do. But my biggest worry of all is that we've now got a situation where the media is conspiring with political ambitions to make massive interference occur. And these things have consequences. It's tremendously dangerous and destabilizing because Iran is one of the regional superpowers that tries to clean up the mess that's created by Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you for a response too on Ursula von der Leyen, who said Tehran's streets and cities around the world echo with the footsteps of Iranian women and men demanding freedom, freedom to speak, freedom to gather, freedom to travel, and above all, live freely. Europe stands fully behind them. We unequivocally condemn the violent repression of these legitimate demonstrations. These legitimate demonstrators have got grenades, Kalashnikovs, and Molotov cocktails.
Well, in response to what Ursula von der Leyen, failed politician, who then just scraped into one of those cushy numbers in the European Union, said, I would say, I demand full transparency of your involvement with what looked like questionable activities around the COVID scandal. And so let's start with you, Ursula von der Leyen, before you start preaching to other people. Why did you buy so many jabs? What's your familial relationship with the pharmaceutical industry? Why did you criticize Donald Trump for introducing tariffs when you yourself want to slap huge tariffs on the Chinese automotive industry? She's not a serious person. That's the problem. She's not a serious person. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not interested in what she has to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one person who's probably got this spot on is Jimmy Dore, who's turned around and said another CIA regime change war coming in Iran at the behest of Israel. I don't think Americans will fall for this again. Please don't let me down. It's looking awfully likely that they will.
There's a problem here because they've already forgotten the Arab Spring, which became a multi-decade winter of discontent. The West, in its utter idiocy, thought it could topple regimes from Libya through to Syria and put its own lackey movements and pseudo politicians in there. They may have succeeded in doing that in Ukraine, but look at the consequences there. Look what happened in Libya. Look what's happened in Syria. Look what's happened in all these places. Syria actually held out the longest, but they've just created an entire continent of instability. And they don't know what they're doing. They haven't got the collective intelligence to make these decisions. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen, really? I mean, she's a disgrace to the trade of politics. And frankly, all you have to do is look at the total mess they've made in Ukraine to realize they're not fit to go anywhere near to any kind of military conflict. But there's a more fundamental thing. Apparently, regime change is fine now. So why don't we try and get rid of the European Union then?
Yeah, Can I ask you
I
a
don't think
quick
that's very
question?
good for us. Yeah, go
Just
on.
a, just a little bit off topic. But how long will it be before Trump comes out that the CIA have uncovered what's going on in Greenland, that the Greenlanders are actually being funded by the Russians, that they've got, could we say, Chinese intel, and of course the weapons are there are extra weapons provided by the Iranians and the North Koreans. When do we go to war with Greenland, Lembit?
Well, as soon as possible. The simplest thing that, as far as Trump's concerned, the simplest thing to do is for Trump to say, "I'll give him $1 million to every household in Greenland." I reckon that will cost 30 billion. Then they'll probably vote for America to come in, and they have a referendum. Nice tidy amount of money. Jobs are good, and he can buy what he wants. That would be the simplest thing. But once again, the problem is because we have such a bunch of jokers now, hopeless incompetence all over the world, Trump is able to do more or less what he wants because he's got no serious competition. He's got no serious competition. And so that means there's no check or balance, no special relationship. I'm actually sympathetic with him and on the basis of the fact that he's surrounded by absolute idiots and around the world. So he's kind of guessing. When I was leader of the Welsh Liberal Democrats, the organisation was very weak. It didn't have any proper leadership. For a while, I was essentially all powerful, but I didn't feel comfortable with it because I didn't have anyone who could give me advice. And that was really unhealthy. I felt a lot more relieved whenever I got some competent people there. Sadly, after I stopped being leader, they ruined everything, went back to their old ways. But for a long time, there was a period, well, quite a long time, a few years, when I was almost supremely powerful, and it really felt uncomfortable. I'm not a dictator, but with the absence of other people with courage to tell me what to do, I made some mistakes. Now, exactly the same could be happening here. That Trump doesn't have anyone much he can respect apart from Xi Jinping and Putin, and so therefore he's having to guess his way forward.
Yeah, it does seem an absolute crazy thing, doesn't it? Let's have a little chat then about because Jeffrey Sachs has had something. By the way, let's just have a little look at this. That is the movement, or we're showing you their movement from Mildenhall, and of course we're going to talk about the tanker situation. Lembit, when we boiled it all down, we used an absolute ton of money, an absolute ton of men and equipment to board a tanker at the cost of over $3 million, to board a tanker that ended up being owned by a Ukrainian oligarch with 17 Ukrainian men on board and 3 Russians, and it was empty.
Well, what do you expect? That's what I mean. These people are complete idiots, absolute idiots. And also, well, think about the implications of all of this. First point, we've now essentially endorsed regime change activity because Sam is too stupid to understand the implications of what he's done. Number two, we've now started apprehending other people's shipping for no good reason. And number three, there's no perceived benefit whatever the action that was taken except to give a green light to all other nations to be able to do the same thing because all they have to do is say, well, you did it, why shouldn't we? It's just ridiculous. The fact that there's a Ukrainian connection, which I wasn't aware of actually, just further indicates how utterly farcical the situation has become.
Yeah, absolutely crazy, isn't it? We're also going to. I'm going to play this as well because this is a revelation that I've come across. It turns out there was a specific meeting between NATO, between all the NATO countries, a secret meeting between the NATO countries on the 6th of Jan. Let's have a look at this. Lembit, we now know, and we actually have some documentation. We can't show it to you, but we will do when we can. But we have it. There was a meeting. It's called The Baltic and the Black. It's a paper. It was agreed by NATO to start doing this from the edge, the middle of 2026, 2027, June 2026. They're going to put many, many more men on Gotland, which is an island in the Baltic Sea, and try to shut off Russian shipping in the Baltic Sea there, and Constanta in Romania to shut off the Black Sea.
Well, this is the politics of madness. Russia is going to win whatever they do in Ukraine, so there's no comprehensible reason why they would do this. Ukraine's lost. It's finished. It's over. And so what they're now doing is poking the bear, perhaps to accelerate the shift of power from those completely incompetent Western nations, these Western politicians, to the new bloc, the BRICS countries, Russia, China, India. Obviously, the triumvirate is going to take over parts of South America too. And as a result of this kind of thing, which once again I didn't know about till now, I'm absolutely sure that this is what losers do. They're trying anything now, but it's not working. What I'm so sad about is it inconveniences billions of dollars worth of business all over the world. And as I say, just shows Europe to be the absolute brats that they are. Irrelevant, childish, weird in the case of Mark Rutte. Harassing Russian shipping will not make one iota of difference to the outcome in Ukraine.
Yeah, it won't make any difference whatsoever. I think you're absolutely right. In fact, Putin had some rather harsh words today, or over the last couple of days, I should say, and especially this to his people. Here we go.
Хочу, чтобы меня услышали простые граждане западных государств. Вас сейчас настойчиво пытаются убедить в том, что все ваши трудности – это результат каких-то враждебных действий России, что из вашего собственного кошелька надо оплатить борьбу с мифической русской угрозой. Все это ложь. А правда в том, что текущие проблемы, с которыми сталкиваются миллионы людей на Западе, стали результатом многолетних действий правящих элит их государств. Их ошибок, близорукости и амбиций. Эти элиты думают не о том, как улучшить жизнь своих граждан в западных странах. Они одержимы своими корыстными интересами и сверхприбылями.
So there we are. Putin's pretty much got that right, hasn't he, Lambert? He's turning around and saying that very simply what we've got here is the Western elites couldn't give a damn about the people there, and very short-sighted and very stupid.
Yeah, assuming that's an authentic video, I presume it is, but yeah, then he's pretty much said what I'm saying. The Western public is being utterly disrespected by a bunch of clowns, stretching from Brussels to Germany, who don't know what the hell they're doing, who are idiotically scared of the great evil Russian bear, and who think that meeting the coalition of the Wallies every 2 weeks is going to make any difference. It doesn't make a difference. It makes them look more and more impotent as every week and every month goes on. I have to say that Vladimir Putin has been pretty patient. For those who think that all of the violence and all of the aggression comes from Russia, they're not going to agree with what I'm saying now. But if you think that Russia's actually been immensely provoked on its eastern flank by the relentless, idiotic, snotty-nosed children who go into NATO and think it's a war game, well, people who agree with me on that should be losing patience with their governments. I've got a huge amount more patience with professional politicians like Putin than I have with a bunch of mixed-up fools like David Lammy and all the others.
Yeah,
Anything about what they're really doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's have a quick look at the official Russian release.
The main event of the day was Russia's latest use of the Oreshink missile system. On the night of January 9th, Russia launched a combined missile and drone strike against targets in Ukraine. Around 1 a.m., the Oreshink missile system hit the Lviv region. The target was Bilche-Buritsko-Ugurskoye, the largest gas storage facility in Europe. The facility holds approximately 17 billion cubic meters of gas, about half of Ukraine's total reserves. According to reports from Lviv regional authorities, most settlements have no gas pressure in their pipes after the attack. A large fire is burning at the site where the missile landed. Ukrainian monitoring resources report that the Oreshink warhead traveled at speeds of up to 13,000 kilometers per hour. The second target of the combined attack was Kiev and the surrounding region. Up to 12 Iskander missiles, 25 caliber missiles, and at least 200 Garan-2 drones were fired at military and energy facilities. A fire was reported at the impact site, and flashes were visible at Ukraine's most powerful thermal power plant, TPP-6, as well as at TPP-4 and TPP-5. Meanwhile, the situation on the fronts of the Ukrainian conflict remain difficult. Intense fighting continues in key areas. There is ongoing active fighting south of Kupiansk. Ukrainian troops have regained control of Pishane, a town they had abandoned a few days earlier. Ukrainian units also achieved tactical success further north. In turn, the Russian army expanded its zone of control north of Tabeevka. Then the assault units broke through Podole, achieving significant success. Heavy fighting continues for control of the settlement. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces west of the city are threatened by an encirclement.
The really important part of that, of course, is indeed, without any shadow of a doubt, the fact that they did hit the area that we say they hit. Let's have just one more little look at that again, because there are lots and lots of people that are coming out with all sorts of nonsense. So I'm just going to play the first minute of that.
The main event of the day was Russia's latest use of the Oreshink missile system. On the night of January 9th, Russia launched a combined missile and drone strike against targets in Ukraine. Around 1 a.m., the Oreshink missile system hit the Lviv region. The target was Bilche-Buritsko-Ugurskoye, the largest gas storage facility in Europe. The facility holds approximately 17 billion cubic meters of gas, about half of Ukraine's total reserves. According to reports from Lviv regional authorities, most settlements...
So, everybody, there are lots and lots of people out there saying, Lembit, that they hit it wasn't that, and they hit a plane site. They hit a site that was using planes and everything else. It wasn't. They were hitting the underground site. We showed you a picture of it, the gas and storage facility and the underground site where they were making the chips to go in the drones that were launched at Putin's residence. Sending a message, of course, Lembit, and it was quite enough. It was quite a, should we say, was it enough of a message, or did we need more?
It's not enough of a message. The problem we've got is that the aforementioned idiots are still willing to pump billions of euros, not of their money, of our money. Let's be honest, it's not their money. Von der Leyen's not forking out for this. Mark Rutte's not forking out for this. We are, in order to fight a losing battle. And I've always said on your show that the war is scalable. The argument isn't who's going to win. The argument is how many people will die in the process of Russia winning. And they can do what they want. They have essentially complete air superiority as much as they need it for drones. They lose a lot of drones, but it's a different kind of war. And if they've actually blown up that gas facility, no wonder people are freezing in Ukraine. But if Putin wanted to, he could spend a lot more money on this and a few more lives, and it would get even worse for Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're talking, of course, we're just seeing some more pictures of this Oreshnik. People were, and there's something that needs explaining here on a military level. People are turning around and saying, why didn't they put a warhead on it? Well, putting a warhead on it would actually cause the kinetic impact to have been less, because the kinetic impact is actually bigger than the explosion. So there's absolutely no need to put a warhead on it whatsoever. Now, we've got people inside Ukraine who are telling us that the site has been utterly obliterated. It's not just damage. In fact, shall we say, the head of the Kiev regime has come out and said there has been destruction. Let's have a little look. See if we can get the.
Були би просто неспівзмірні. Слава Богу, що там не було бойової частини, тому був великий шум. Так, є ураження одного з об'єктів.
It is in Ukrainian, but he said there was terrible destruction. People around said it felt like the earth was heaving up. Lee Williams.
Quick one. Is there still electricity cut in Kiev?
Kiev won't be back online for any time soon. Let's put it that way. There certainly is. How can I put this? They've got blackouts there. It's -10. Lembit, I did want to ask you about the duplicity and the stupidity of these people, because they were all for bashing Russia, and everybody was cheering that they launched the drones. Half of them were saying, "Oh no, they didn't launch them," and it's been shown quite clearly that they did launch them at Putin's residence. The fact that he's not there is neither, by your leave. Problem we have here, Lembit, is then everybody started bleating when the Russians responded.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts here. It breaks the unwritten rules of war to do that, because Zelensky could very easily be turned into ashes at the press of a button. But there's no secrecy.
There's no confidentiality. Zelensky is just a dead man walking as far as Putin's concerned. He lets him live because he doesn't see the point of killing him. So for this stupid, provocative action, it's just another gesture. Just gesture politics. And they're bound to have a response. I would say something else rather more sardonic. Since Ukraine decided to blow up Nord Stream, you could argue that Russia's just simply helping them to finish the job and wreck the whole of the gas sector in Ukraine and parts of Europe. Let's remember that Ukraine or the West somehow destroyed Nord Stream pipeline, therefore adding probably by now trillions to the energy budget in the West, certainly hundreds of billions. What do they think is going to happen? That Putin's just going to sit there and take it? Of course he isn't. What Putin wants to do is get the result he wants with minimum loss of money and life. And so if he has to freeze out, leaving aside the rights and the wrongs of it, that's not even the point I'm making. It's a war situation. And he has to freeze out Ukrainians, so they say to their idiot leaders, you've got to stop doing this, you have to have a peace deal. Then it's understandable completely.
Yeah. What did you make of this idiotic discussion that they had? Let's just put the volume on.
As you made this order to go and capture Nicolas Maduro, President Zelensky said that he was watching with the rest of the world as you made this order to go and capture Nicolas Maduro. And he said, if that's how it works with dictators, then the United States knows what to do next. Sounds like he wants you to go and capture Vladimir Putin. Would you ever order a mission to go and capture Vladimir Putin?
Well, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think we're going to have I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm very disappointed. I settled 8 wars. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack, or maybe one of the easier ones.
Could you be any more stupid than to turn around and say, I don't think that's necessary, as though they could actually think that they could actually do it?
It's a form of words. Warren, I think he's being diplomatic. He has no intention whatever of capturing his friend Vladimir Putin. Trump, unlike
Healy wants the same thing.
Pardon, say again?
The defence minister of the UK, Healy, has asked for the same thing.
Yeah, but John Healy's not serious either. I've known. I mean, you watch him on television, and he's just a joke. just ridiculous. You know, to prepare for war. He says, prepare for war. Well, no. If we're going to have a war with Russia, let's just go and spend all our money in the pub, because we're not going to win that one either.
No.
And so, what's a shame now is we're no longer talking about politics seriously in the West. These are joke politicians. I was in the debating society at school, and the debates we had when I was 15 were more mature than what we're seeing now. And it's literally shocking. I watch aghast at the risible quality of our politicians, and it is risible. And so, we need regime change. We do, but we need it in Britain. We need to get rid of Starmer. Starmer should be arrested because he's doing massive harm to this country. Why don't they just arrest him then? And this is the silly thing. Now everyone can say everyone can be arrested. This is a stupid thing. And they say, oh, no, it doesn't count for Britain. It doesn't count for Macron. Well, why not? Oh, because Venezuela is some second-rate country. Because Iran's second-rate country. Russia's a second-rate. I don't think so. And so, so I think Trump was being diplomatic. He's not going to go for Putin. He doesn't need to. We need Putin there to solve we need two adults to solve the problem. And we know who the two adults are. As for the rest of it, bleating nobodies like Starmer, who phoned up Trump to tell him not to invade Greenland. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Point to one single thing that Keir Starmer has done effectively in international politics. There isn't one. He's just made a fool of himself. So Putin's not going to be arrested. And Putin's not going to be abducted. And you're right, they couldn't do it anyway, but it's not even on the table. If it is actually true that Zelensky bombed or attacked Putin's residences, absolutely game over for any morsel of credibility he could have had. There's no military benefit to doing it, and it's just because he's got nothing else to do.
Let's ask you about this then, because Trump labelled Kellogg an idiot the other day, a few days back. Kellogg has now come out and said his mission in life has always been to be able to put a wedge between Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, and he would never stop trying to play one off against the other. This was a guy who was sent out as a peace envoy at the start to try and make peace with Russia.
Well,
not good. Let's ask your thoughts on this then, because this is going to upset. It's no wonder peace deal. Donald Trump is a good friend of Ronald Lauder, the heir to the Estee Lauder fortune, and he has invested a lot of money in mines and, of course, the lithium mines and everything else. And he's won the tender to take all that out of the ground. A good personal friend of Donald Trump's. And, of course, the Russians have dismissed the 20-point plan that was put forward by Europe and by Vitkov and also by Kushner. And it's just talking. I mean, at the we called it on the channel when we turned around and said this is a monetary thing to try and get Russia to stop. Could we say moving forward? So they don't. So and trying to bribe them with some sort of monetary deal on minerals. All that's gone straight through the floor. Putin has rejected the 20-point plan without even giving it a glance. He actually gave it. So we're being told. He actually gave it to Kirill Dmitriev and said, "I'm not even going to look at it because it doesn't address even any one of the 3 points that we started the SMO with."
The problem here is, and I say this not with very many joy or glee. The problem is the West is too stupid to understand what this is about. There are 4 realities in the situation. Russia, from the beginning, that's a reality. Number 2, Ukraine can't win the war. Number 3, Russia will win the war and will get its demands one way or another. And the 4th one is that the only 2 serious players in the world stage at the moment are Putin and Trump on this one. Nobody else matters. Zelensky is mired in accusations of corruption. It's interesting. Maduro was arrested for corruption charges. He hasn't been found guilty. Why hasn't Zelensky been arrested for corruption charges? He hasn't been found guilty yet either. But I think there's a certain symmetry to the situation. But those four realities are where we stand. And I can summarize it in one sentence. It's a sentence more or less that Putin himself said. He said, this is what I need, and if you give it to me, we'll stop fighting. If not, then I'll get it militarily anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're bang on that one. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about when it comes to this, Maloney's come out with a couple of statements. She says they've got to start talking to Russia, and let's have a look what else she had to say.
Di che chiaramente questo racconto continuo che io questo racconto continuo che io ascolto, la Meloni, le distanze, prenda, dica, non ho capito che cosa si sta chiedendo quando si dice che l'Italia deve prendere le distanze dagli Stati Uniti, perché questa è geopolitica, non sono comitive, è geopolitica. Nella geopolitica, quando si prendono delle posizioni, si è conseguenti. Ok? Allora, io penso che la politica estera italiana sia quella che il presidente Mattarella ci ha ricordato qualche giorno fa, dicendo che le direttrici della nostra politica estera sono l'Unione Europea e l'Alleanza Atlantica. E quindi che cosa faccio? Cerco le luci piuttosto che le ombre nel mio rapporto, nel rapporto italiano con i suoi partner europei e atlantici, perché a noi conviene rafforzare questo ambito che è il nostro ambito di appartenenza. È sbagliata questa strategia? Allora mi si deve formalizzare l'alternativa, mi si deve dire quindi che cosa si intende fare, cioè dobbiamo prendere distanze nel senso che dobbiamo uscire dalla NATO, dobbiamo chiudere le basi americane, dobbiamo rompere i rapporti commerciali, dobbiamo assaltare i McDonald's, non lo so. Che dobbiamo fare? Che dobbiamo fare? Altrimenti, chiaramente, io certo che non sono d'accordo con tutto quello che dicono i miei partner. Con Trump sono stato d'accordo sul Venezuela, non sono stato d'accordo sulla Groenlandia.
I've got to say, every time I hear her speak, Lembit, I just hear the space to your mute for. The problem that we have here is she's right in a fashion. She says she looks for the light in her European partners.
Yeah.
It's going to take an awfully. You're going to need a searchlight like they had in Colditz, aren't you, to find any light?
Absolutely. She's frustrated, totally frustrated. She's a sensible person. Her and Orban are the two sensible leaders in Europe now. It's a very small minority, and she's fed up. But she's annoyed with America as well now. That's the thing. She's just screaming and shouting at everybody because she's had enough. And it's going to stay that way because we've now got two groups of people, the majority of which are a bunch of idiots, the minority, which are a bunch of sensible people, all of whom know the inevitable outcome of this war.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
I'm going to now convert from this to my studio. So bear with me for 5 minutes and I shall rejoin you.
Not a problem at
all.
See you in a minute, Lembit. Right, let's have a quick look at this then because it's been at it. You know this has been at it. Well, she's been at it again. And she's repeated herself.
What was interesting, that Russia was addressing China, like you and like Russia and China, we, fought the Second World War. We won the Second World War. We won the Nazism. And I was like, okay, that is something new. But then you can see, first you can, if you know history, then, it raises a lot of question marks in your head. But, I can tell you nowadays people don't really read and remember history that much, which is that, you can see that they buy these narratives.
Okay, Kaya, let's help you out. 80% of the German army were beaten or killed by the Russians. 55% of the Japanese army was beaten by the Chinese. So the largest, what should we say, people at killing off the Axis, the Italians, they legged it. But the people who were killing off most of the Axis were the Russians and the Chinese. And by the way, Kaya, If we want to talk about real history, because this is the second time you have come out with this nonsense, you got slaughtered the first time. Let me remind you of which side Estonia were on in the Second World War. Shall I? Unbelievable. And of course, this woman is an absolute bellend. She needs to be, and many people are now calling for her to actually be removed, would you believe? I'm not surprised. I'm just amazed that it's taken that long. It is quite incredible that she will be coming out with this nonsense yet again. And of course, this is not gonna stop. There is something that we do need to talk about, and it's this. Let's have a look at this.
According to George Soros's own files from his Open Society foundations, so myself, my colleagues at Capital Research Center, basically went through as many grants of his, as many funding streams as we could find, and here's the smoking guns that we believe that President Trump, if he's informed of it, can use to go after Soros's network of hate in various ways. We traced over $80 million going from the Open Society foundations to at least 54 groups engaged in crime and domestic terrorism on U.S. soil, or that are pro-terrorism, endorsing things like the October 7th attacks, or are associated with foreign terrorist organizations or explicitly pro-terror groups.
Okay. Now, it's wonderful, isn't it? You said that there's that many operating inside the US. There is double that operating outside the US that you are in bed with, Mr. Unbelievable that they can't get that. It is quite incredible. And of course, we're going to see more and more on that. Let's have a little listen to this.
Just about the only thing that threatens the United States is our own behavior. So, of course, we don't need a budget of $1.5 trillion, especially because our government does nothing but hemorrhage debt, and we have a fiscal crisis. Aside from that, we don't need more wars. We have a president of the United States that threatens a new country every day, and this has to stop if we're going to survive. We're just on a completely reckless, dangerous, provocative path right now, the likes of which we've never seen. We've never had a foul-mouthed president who views himself as above the Constitution, above the domestic law, who dismisses any idea of international law, and who thinks that he reigns over the world and is determined to do so with the vast military spending and rampant use of the military. The United States has bombed 7 countries in the past year.
There we are. We just about make it an 8th effort. And of course, that in those 8 countries, there's been 662 missile strikes. And of course, while we're talking about lots of things to do with various countries that you bombed, have a listen to this.
If we look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place today in Venezuela, today it's uninvestable. And so significant changes have to be made to those commercial frameworks, the legal system. There has to be durable investment protections, and there has to be a change to the hydrocarbon laws in the country. We're confident that with this administration and President Trump working hand in hand with the Venezuelan government, that those changes can be put in place.
Eric Jones.
Yeah, Warren, that's translated into legal speak to we expect the CIA to go in there and throw some money at that government and make them change their regulations.
I think you might be right on that one. I think you're actually talking pretty good. Let's have a look at this.
Wow, look at this.
Now, does anybody know what that aircraft is? I don't want to scare anybody here. No one? Mark Onza.
I thought it was Air Force One when I saw it.
Yeah, it's not. It's the E-48 Doomsday plane. In other words, that's the one that carries supposedly all the nuclear codes and is only brought into Washington, which it has now landed in, when it needs to be updated for possible involvement in places around the world. Makes you wonder what's going on, doesn't it? The other thing that is really, really important to note as well is that the Americans have, or the CIA, have landed in Venezuela. Let's have a look. As Eric was just saying, we want the CIA to go in and change things. Now, as much as everybody says that's a civilian plane, it's actually registered to the CIA. And of course, on board were 47 operatives going into Venezuela. And of course, everybody's starting to go, what the hell's going on? Well, they're coming out with all the nonsense of what they're doing is they're moving in. The CIA have only landed there because they're going to reopen the embassy and this, that, and the other. So, of course, nobody's doing anything naughty. Don't worry about it. It's just the normal thing that we do. In the meantime, of course, we have Rodriguez, Jorge Rodriguez. Remember the guy we said that had helped along with his sister throw Maduro under the bus? Here's Donald Trump. Venezuela has started the process in a big way of releasing their political prisoners, as we told you they were. And nobody else was talking about this. I hope those prisoners will remember how lucky that they got the USA to come along and did what had to be done. I hope they never forget. If they do, it will not be good for them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, they're going to be left inside of, obviously, they're going to be left inside of Venezuela, most of them. And, of course, that was a veiled threat, but we've let you out. Now you will do exactly as we say. It is quite staggering that nobody is picking anybody up on any of this whatsoever. And of course, we're seeing this over and over again, starting to play out, but nobody is saying a damn thing. And it is quite incredible. But as I say, you're going to see more and more of this over the coming days, where they're releasing prisoners. Talking of releasing prisoners, have a look at this.
So, what we've seen from these soldiers in Patagonia is that they behave as if they didn't need to respect the laws of Argentina. And then they are very rude to people. They can walk into a supermarket and start eating food without paying, for example, because they know there won't be any local authority to tell them anything, because they have political backing behind them, to say the least. And several things have drawn attention in that regard. One is that we were in Patagonia this summer, where there were very important fires, very, very important in Patagonia, right on the trails where these Israeli soldiers walk. And part of the paradox is that fires always start in Patagonia near waterways. So President Milei changed the land law and the forest law so that any foreigner could buy land in Argentina right now. And he removed the forest law, through which, if a part of a forest burns down beforehand, it couldn't be sold for 20 years. So that prevented intentional fires from starting, because if someone had a piece of native forest, let's say fine, someone else could set it on fire and come and offer it much cheaper, when in reality, they keep the land, and it's still next to a waterway. So far, Oscar, there has been only one case in which a person has been found setting forest fires in Patagonia, and it was on the Chilean side, right? It was a forest of more than 15,000 hectares in the Torres del Paine National Park, and it was indeed an Israeli soldier. The soldier's name is Rotter Singer. He acknowledged that he had deliberately set fire to the Torres del Paine National Park, but the Zionist lobby within the Chilean judiciary got them fined only 7,500 euros. Plus, in recent weeks, a long-standing theme has been confirmed. In Argentina, Israeli citizens will be able to have all the same rights as Argentine citizens and even collect a pension from the Argentine pension system, even if they've never worked here, and even if they don't even live in Argentina. In other words, the Argentine pension system will start supporting Israeli retirees. It's as crazy as you're hearing it.
Va a empezar a mantener a jubilados israelíes.
There we are. So Israelis will get a pension. They can set fire to the land and then claim the land as their own. And of course, the Israelis that are going there are IDF soldiers. So far, the 4 that have been sent back are IDF soldiers that are wanted for war crimes in Gaza. Nilus.
Yeah, as we know, our own privatization in the UK went over several decades. But in Argentina, it went to the first term of the Argentinian president's presidency. Yeah, nearly everything's been sold off. It's all been privatized, apparently, in Argentina.
Quite incredible, isn't it? Welcome, Lembit. I don't know whether you caught some of that, but literally they've been setting forest fires in Argentina, Israeli soldiers that have been going out there to holiday. And of course, he's got rid of the 20-year law so that you can actually buy this forest area to settle on land next to water. And of course, the IDF soldiers that are wanted for war crimes in Gaza have been burning the forest so that they can then purchase the land. And then, of course, the Zionist regime jumped in and said how terrible it was that they were being prosecuted, and they only got prosecuted $7,000.
Well, the issue we have here is world's out of control. The old forces don't realize they're losing power, and the new forces can point to corruption scandal after corruption scandal to talk about things like you've just said. One of the problems is so much is wrong that it's impossible to keep up, almost impossible to keep up with testing, checking, establishing what's true and what isn't. I mean, it's stunning, really, when you think about how much is being done wrongly, from Argentina through to Ukraine, Venezuela to Greenland, and all points in between. I think I'd summarize it this way. I imagine this is how it felt in Rome around 300 AD as the Roman Empire was falling to bits. Corruption taking over, nonsense politics. Well, Rome's enemies became stronger, and eventually Rome became, the Roman Empire became Italy. It's a nice country, but it's not an empire. And I think that's what we're living through now. How else can you explain the level of utter drivel that's been spouted by these fools, by these people?
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right on that. While we're still on the subject of Israelis, let's have a listen to a couple of other things that I think are important. This is Tucker Carlson. Have a listen to this.
Miriam Adelson is spending against you. Yes. And she's backing Byron. But I mean, she's an Israeli. And Donald Trump said in his remarks on television in the Knesset to her, you care about Israel more than the United States, which is her right. But how is she a huge player in my country, not her country, my country's politics? Like, how is that allowed? There was some Chinese guy, and he was pretty open about caring a lot more about the CCP than he cares about the United States. It would not be cool to take money from him. And that person would not be allowed to get on TV and be like, I don't like what you're saying about my actual country, therefore I'm going to drown you in gambling money.
Well, can you imagine, like, the equivalent?
What is going on? Right. Why do we think this is normal? Talk about foreign interference in our elections.
Well, Tucker Carlson said it well. I didn't really have a lot of time for him at the beginning. But I have to say, now that he's liberated from the shackles of conformity, he speaks the truth, and an awkward truth at that. What he's saying is basically that Israel have special rights to do whatever it pleases, Well, and partly because of that circular system where America gives Israel money, Israel spends it, and a proportion of it on lobbying. So it's a circular system. And then Israel says that if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic, which is clearly nonsense because they are mixing up a country and a religion. So, it's stupid. I mean, it's obviously stupid. As I've said many times before, it's like saying that we should blame the Catholic. So it'd be like criticizing Tony Blair for his illegal war in Iraq and saying, "Oh, you're anti-Catholic," because he's a Catholic. It's stupid. You know, it's a stupid argument. But unfortunately, we don't have capacity, the intellectual capacity in our politicians, by and large, to deal with it. It's a very dark time. You know, it's a very dark time. I've never known in my life there to be such a deficit of good politicians.
Nor I. And such a deficit of common sense. Here's a bit more, Tucker Carlson.
So I want to ask about the foreign flag thing. I always admired DeSantis, certainly during COVID. I thought he was just a remarkable leader, interviewed him many times. I know him and his wife. And it was the foreign policy stuff that made me wonder, like, what is this? And how controlled is he by Ken Griffin and the rest of his donors? And then he had this moment where he signed a hate speech law out of the country. He flew to a foreign country, Israel, to sign a hate speech law for Florida. And I thought, well, this is obviously unconstitutional. It's immoral, but it's also part of an elaborate humiliation ritual where you have to go not just like enslave your own people with a hate speech law, which that is, it's slavery, but you have to go kiss someone else's wall to show your obedience. And I was like, I'm out. Like, how did that happen?
Well, it started like most things, terrible things start here in Florida with Randy Fine.
Randy Fine?
Quite literally.
The genocide guy?
Yeah, the genocide guy, the Starve Away Gaza Kids guy.
I can't even believe he's real. So what did he have to do with it?
So he introduced this law, which effectively criminalized anti-Semitism in Florida. Now, look, Tucker, I think you and I and your viewers recognize that any form of religious hatred should be condemned unequivocally.
Well, of course. Yeah, I have condemned it. I've been condemned anti-Semitism. I've condemned attacking people for being Muslim, with their kids for evil too.
Right.
I was called a jihadi for that. I'm against all of it. And I'm certainly opposed to the anti-Christian hate from...
Which is perhaps the most virulent.
That's for sure. So no, I'm a Christian. I'm opposed to that. But you can't criminalize attitudes. Every person's free to have his own attitudes, ugly as they may be, period.
Correct. And the issue is, if you look at the statutory definition of anti-Semitism here in Florida, which is 10105 in our state statute, it actually says that criticizing the Jewish state, that would be Israel, holding them to a double standard, denying them their place on the world stage. That's literally in state statute 10105.
It's against the law to criticize Israel.
Think about that. So if you're a college student at FSU and you're having an earnest, good faith debate with someone who sympathizes with the Israeli cause, you with the Palestinian cause, whatever the case is, and one of you says Netanyahu is a war criminal or Israel is committing genocide, you could literally be punished and expelled from your taxpayer-funded university by that. And that is messed up. It is unconstitutional.
It's totally
un-American.
Crazy.
It's totally un-American. And of course, the Republicans and Democrats in Tallahassee got along with it because their donors wanted them to get along with it.
Words fail me. Whatever happened to the First Amendment, all those amendments about free speech? If what they said is true, it basically means that you can no longer criticize a country because that would be considered anti-Semitic. Unbelievable.
Quite crazy, isn't it?
Absolutely unbelievable.
Let's have a listen to this guy as well. Norman Finkelstein, who's very, very erudite in what he says.
I would like to ask you, name me another country in the world. 2003, Israel was the cheerleaders for the war in Iraq. 2006, it went into war in Lebanon. 2008, 2009, it attacked Gaza. Now it talks about attacking Iran. If you read the Israeli papers every day, they talk about, should we attack Gaza? Should we attack Lebanon? Should we attack Syria? Name me another country in the world that falls into that category.
Well,
that's a lunatic state.
Israel would point to a number of its neighbors and say exactly the same thing.
No, you show me how many countries has Iran planned to attack? No, let's ask a simple question. How many countries in the last 10 years has Iran attacked?
When you look...
No, that's a fair question. How many countries in the last 10 years has Iran attacked?
When you look at the history of Israel, do you not have some sympathy or understanding, people would ask, as to why they feel threatened and why
we're not
they
talking about
consider...
why they feel threatened. We're talking about a country that every 2 or 3 years goes to war. And if you follow the press as I do, every day they talk about let's attack this country, let's attack that country. That's not normal. And when I call the lunatic state, I don't say these things with glee. I'm not happy about that fact. As the American economist, the Nobel laureate Paul Krugman, put it in the New York Times last week, he said it's perfectly obvious Israel's headed towards national suicide. It's become a crazy state. And he says it's not good for Jews, it's not good for the world where Israel is headed.
Lembit is with us back again in a minute with a bit of luck. Hopefully Lembit will be back online in a sec.
Yeah, I was listening.
Yeah,
I was
Lembit,
listening.
he's right, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, Israel has made a mistake, and it's called hubris. Thinks they can do anything because it's got powerful friends. And to an extent, it has been able to do anything. That doesn't mean it should have been doing it. But more seriously still, that is ending now because it's got even more powerful enemies now. And it's misbehaved. Israel is misbehaving. Same way that I would say that in Britain, the current government's misbehaving. You don't say, oh, well, you better not criticize them because they'll be accused of being anti-atheist because Stalin was an atheist. And so Israel should be treated like everybody else. The difficulty they've got is now that people are losing patience. A lot of people who aren't very political are sick and tired of seeing children dying in Gaza and women and non-combatants. The overwhelming majority of deaths in Gaza were civilians, have been civilians. And what I'm worried about now is in this utter chaotic ignorance, where people say, I better not say anything about Israel because I'll be accused of being anti-Semitic. They're carrying on. But that doesn't help Israel either. If you indulge a bully, they'll never grow out of it.
No, exactly that. Mark Hunter.
Aren't your American military industrial complex is either Israel-owned or has a large ownership by Israeli people?
I knew this question would come up sometime. Hang on 2 seconds. I do have the answer to that. 7 of the top 10 American companies have Israel CEOs or Jewish CEOs. There you go. That should tell you everything you need to know. So have a little look at this as well.
I would like, because I wouldn't want us to walk away from here with a general sense that the panel accepts that the notion of WMDs in Iraq is a good example of fake news. To me, that is not a good example of fake news. That's an example of a seriously flawed policy or political goal, which was covered aggressively and ultimately inaccurately by the news media. In other words, there were no WMDs.
There was a spin. We were victims of some kind of spin.
The journalistic process of writing about WMDs in Iraq was not a process of circulating
Thank you for that
maliciously
clarification.
generated fake
It wasn't.
So I think it's important to keep that out of the definition.
Weapons of mass destruction, I should just remind everybody, or weapons of mass disappearance, as they later became known. But anyway, quickly, Bilivar.
My only point is, and I don't mean to hit on the BBC or the New York Times, I have great respect for their integrity and independence, but the fact of the matter is they pitched US intelligent narratives, which were absolute fiction. So I don't know what else you've described.
They turned out to be absolute fiction.
But
they were not
known
known to be fiction at the moment that they were being discussed. If they had known to be fiction, we would not have reported them. The New York Times and the BBC and others have re-examined their coverage of that, but there was no knowledge that these were fictional narratives.
That's absolute rubbish. Dr. David Kelly, Lembit, discuss.
I knew it was rubbish. I knew it was lies. I knew it was lies as a member of Parliament. And at that point, a Liberal Democrat Party, which actually had integrity, it voted against on the basis of the facts, the evidence. It was obviously lies. And so if I was able to tell that in 2003 when I was 43, I don't know, I'm 38 years old, I think. Why couldn't these people who have far more information than me not tell? It's just plain lie. And David Kelly, in my view, was murdered, seems likely, because he was too close to the truth. And no shut case. I said there was a false premise. It wasn't true, and we voted against it because we knew the evidence. That man's just a liar.
He is. Yeah, I totally agree with you. We're going to get on to the UK now, then, Bit. This is something I'd like you to have a look at. Now, we all know, and we've seen that the arrests for online comments, 12,183, was almost double the next place, which was Belarus, and then Germany, then China, Turkey, Russia, Poland, going on down. 12,183, 10,755 were on comments of one particular thing. Can you imagine what that might be, Lembit?
Gender politics?
No.
Islamists.
Yes, they were on the subject of Islam and immigration. 10,755 arrests. That is a staggering number compared to arrests for other complaints. Lembit.
Yes, well, the country's finished really at the moment. We haven't got free speech. We haven't got a functioning government, to be honest with you, anymore. We haven't got a competent prime minister. We've got a joke cabinet. We're irrelevant on the world stage. But instead of trying to improve their performance, they try to shut us all up. Just in those statistics, there's a really horrendous one buried in there. Right, there are 8 times more arrests in Britain for free speech, for hurty words, than in China. Right, 8 times more, according to that list.
Yep.
But China's population is 20 times larger. That means you are 160 times more likely to be arrested in Britain for saying something which the state doesn't like than in China. And we moan to China about free speech. Give me a break.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems absolutely crazy, doesn't it? Louis Bastos, you had your hand up, buddy.
Hi, Lambert and Warren. Good morning, Warren. Evening, Lambert.
Good morning.
Can you tell me where they put all these people if the jails in England are too full? Where do these people go if the jails are full?
Well, they got a brilliant solution for that. They let out criminals, so they can put more. They can put people in prison for saying things that some people find upsetting or offensive, or perish the thought, are critical of Islamist religious aspects and so on. But they let out other people instead. So it's a good question. The fact that people can spend a year languishing in prison for having said something on the internet, while somebody else who actually called for the slitting of throats, Councillor Ricky Jones, Labour Councillor Ricky Jones, actually called for the killing of people, walked away scot-free. Just shows the politicisation of the judiciary in this country now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're welcome, buddy. Andy FX asked a question. In your opinion, Lembit, will X be banned?
No.
No,
And there's a simple reason. Because that's a declaration of war. And to take on the richest man in the world like that, it's a declaration of war. And I'll tell you what will happen if that occurs. Everyone will go onto VPN so that nobody knows where you are. Secondly, many of us will directly challenge the state to arrest us, which will look absolutely terrible. And thirdly, people who regard social media as their only trusted source of news now, because things like the BBC aren't trusted anymore, and the government certainly isn't trusted anymore, they will, in my opinion, withdraw their consent from this government, and Britain will become ungovernable.
Okay. Let's have a look at this, Lembit, because we're going to play a game here. I want you to tell me the age range of the surrendering Ukrainian soldiers?
55.
Звание, фамилия, имя, отчество, год рождения, подразделение.
Солдат Михальчук Олександр Васильович, 18.08.89.
So you're going 56, the first one?
No, okay, I'll say he's 56.
Бригада.
Okay.
Солдат Слободенюк Василь Петрович, 1985 року народження, 2 серпня. 14-та бригада, солдат.
Бригада.
14-та.
Звание, фамилия,
Старший
отчество.
сержант Буряк Олександр Леонідович, 16.06.99, 14-та бригада.
42.
Еще один отвернется.
Старший солдат Иткулов Руслан Рафикович,
50.
14-та бригада. 24.08.80. Старший солдат Жарков Даниил.
Громче.
45.
Старший солдат Жарков Даниил Авадович, 1995 року народження.
Thank you very much. And it's a wonderful thing that you've just done there, Lembit, because you've absolutely proved the point that I am about to make. War changes and ages people unbelievably. Now, every single one of them was giving their date of birth on that video. And would it surprise you to know that not one of them was over the age of 40?
Yeah, it would be astounded.
Yeah.
Standard.
They all
They're
gave
shocked.
their date of birth. And this is what war does to people. And those who have been in one have seen this sort of thing happen. It ages people, especially when you get a long war like this. It is quite incredible, Lembit. And of
just
course,
awful.
as I say, when we hear people like Keir Starmer wanting to have conscription and send people off to war, do you want people coming back like that would be the question. And the second thing I need to ask you, Lembit, have a look at this picture. This is in Germany, and this is every single Ukrainian that is now trying to get a new visa, as the Germans, as we said that they would, are talking about repatriating back to Ukraine 500,000 Ukrainians that are currently in their country. And we know exactly what will happen to them, Lembit, should that be successful.
They'll be sent to the front line, and then there's a good chance they'll get killed.
Yeah.
Why are they on the grass there?
They're all camping out, trying to get, because they're saying they're going to, the parliament is going to have a discussion, and they're going to limit the number of Ukrainians who can actually stay in the country. So they're actually trying to be first in the queue.
Just whole thing's just a mess. If I was Ukrainian, I wouldn't go back.
No.
I go far away from Ukraine as I could, so that I don't have to go back. I go to Argentina if I had to.
Yeah, exactly.
Why go into the meat grinder? You're not going to change anything. You just get killed, and then everything carries on as it was carrying on.
Absolutely that. Louis Bastos.
Sorry, that area there is in front of the big Jewish memorial for Auschwitz. It's a big monument where they're sitting or close to it.
Yeah.
I was there in 2008 at that area. It's all by the Jewish memorial.
Yeah. And of course, that's where they've decided to camp, because they're gonna try and get these, should we say, be one of the lucky ones. Let's talk of some stupidity, Lembit. We've had, first of all, in Britain, we've had some nonsense regarding this. This is a story by Francine Wolfiz. We've checked this out. It's complete rubbish. There's going to be a ballistic missile carrying a 200-kilogram warhead for Ukraine that can destroy Russian targets as far as Moscow. They're new hypersonic missiles, Lembit. I was like, wow, that's impressive. I've not heard anything about this at all. So I spoke to my contact, and he said the whole story, it's a complete nonsense story. They haven't got any ballistic missile, hypersonic missile like this whatsoever.
Why are they even saying it then?
Yeah.
Why are they saying it? Why are they saying it?
because the Oreshniks frighten the living daylights out of everyone.
I see. Okay.
It does seem quite strange, doesn't it? While we're on the subject, drones. While we're still talking about Germany, Lembit, drones have been were launched apparently inside of Germany, and it took the Germans over 11 hours to be able to bring these drones down, which they say are military in design, but they have not yet come out and accused Russia of it. Now, this is the Arrow 3 air defense system, Lembit. And eventually they were taken down by conventional means. This is the Arrow 3 air defense system, which was deployed to and is there to stop hypersonic missiles. They tried to fire it to take these drones out, Lembit, and it failed completely.
Well, it's complicated business, all of this war stuff. And in reality, Russia, through trial and error, have got themselves into a really good situation. They put lots of low cost drones up there, accepting 90% of them get shot down. The other 10% do all the damage. And how much do they cost each? $5,000, $7,000?
Can I blow your mind here? Do you know to fire one of the missiles from the Patriot battery system costs $3 million, anywhere between $3 to $5 million, depending who you buy it off. That's just one missile for the United States Patriot missile battery system, air defense system. Okay.
How much does a drone cost? A Russian drone?
Around about anywhere between £1,000 to £5,000.
All right, so you spend $3 million to knock out something which is probably about $5,000.
Okay. I'm now going to blow your mind. How much do you think it costs to build an Oreshnik missile?
That's the supersonic one, the hypersonic one.
That's the one that just hit Lvov with the 6 warheads.
$1 million?
3 million, the same as one
right.
Patriot battery missile.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yeah. But the Patriots aren't incredible. Patriots aren't going to bring those other things down very easily anyway because they're too fast.
Unbelievable, isn't it? And we're going to do.
You can bankrupt. You can just use up all the entire Patriot arsenal by putting hundreds of drones in. It's like playing. It's like playing. Is it bridge or something where you force the others to use their high cards?
Well, absolutely. And obviously, when Kiev got battered and was without power, they didn't launch any whatsoever because there were none left. 2 things that we need to run by you, Lembit, and you need to explain this to me. The cost of the war has cost the EU even with all the money that they pilfer from everybody else, the EU are still running for the Ukraine war for this year a $48 billion loss.
I'm surprised. It's just ridiculous. It's a money pit. You could put $500 billion in there, you'd still lose because a lot of it's been stolen because of the corruption in what is a regime because they haven't had an election. Zelensky hasn't got the democratic legitimacy really, and then it's been squandered. I mean, the Kursk, how much did the Kursk nonsense cost? A lot in lives, even more in money.
Exactly that.
And it's just watching this.
And
it
now
was quite depressing today because I was earlier on. The reason I was late was because I was stuck in a plane which is thrashing about the sky, and this tremendous storm. And actually, it was less. The plane flight was less frightening than the stupidity of our politicians.
It is quite incredible, isn't it? And do you know? I'm just going to give you a heads up here. There's 4.5 billion of that. 4.5 billion of that. Lembit is going to build the new Berlin Wall between Finland and Russia. Yes, the actual mining and all the, shall we say, all the fencing and all the barbed wire. It's going to cost 4 billion. Somebody's making a packet there, aren't they?
But the wall, A wall. A wall. That's pathetic.
A new Berlin Wall.
I found it, but Russia and the Soviet Union and Finland had an uneasy truce even in the darkest days. They don't need a wall.
Well, let me blow your mind even more, Lembit. We are going to ask you a very straightforward question here. In 2024, in 2024, it was decided they wouldn't be buying any more Russian oil. What do you think, up or down? What do you think the figure of the fall or even rise of Russian oil bought by the European states in 2025 was?
Well, I got to believe that it's got to be down by 80%.
It went up by 76%.
Who's buying it?
Well, Hungary bought a lot, Serbia bought a lot, the French bought a lot, even Belgium bought a fair bit. But the third most expenditure came from France.
Well, I don't have an issue with Russia selling the stuff because Russia's going to win anyway. It doesn't matter. None of this matters because
So
Russia's
much
going to
for
win
not
anyway.
buying Russian
but,
oil. Then.
But the hypocrisy of it is just breathtaking. The West is willing to destroy a very good gas supply by blowing up that Nord Stream pipeline, then blaming the Russians, which never made sense. It it was just a ridiculous thing to say, even. And now we've discovered that they're buying the damn stuff anyway. The year with the highest usage of oil in human history was last year.
Yes.
And that's because this year's only just started.
Can I ask you a question as well, Lembit?
So.
When you go to a Ukrainian funeral, would you expect to see Nazis and LGBTQ flags alongside each other?
Yeah.
So the red and black flags were Bandera flags, and of course part of the Azov neo-Nazi regime, and also they were having LGBTQ flags. Make that make sense for me, please, Lemmy.
Well, I can't really. Maybe the Nazis were LGBT lovers. I don't know. The problem is that there's nothing really I particularly like about the Ukrainian political system. Individuals are all right. The public is being killed in large scale by this disastrous policy. They're probably all right. I met some nice Ukrainians, but the system itself's completely shot to bits now. It's totally broken. It's just an out of control corruption scandal with a professional clown at the head who may have other problems too. And then we've got a bunch of creeps like people in Western politics who just give me the heebie-jeebies. And you got weirdo like Mark Rutte in charge of NATO, just doesn't understand people. You got failed politician Ursula von der Leyen talking about stuff she doesn't understand and dangerously talking about it. And then in the middle of it all, you got this man who just doesn't understand any of it, Keir Starmer, who puts together a coalition of the Wallies, which hasn't done a single thing to help anybody, but just wasted a lot of our money.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that point. We do have. I mean, this just seems to be something that just keeps going on, though, doesn't it? I mean, we get more and more lunacy as we go along, do we not?
Yeah. Well, I think this is the darkest hour. I think things have got worse. I feel that I'm watching the decline and fall of Western civilization. I'm living in it. I was in Athens yesterday to do with Unprecedented TV, my TV station. And there was one point when I was sitting having tea about 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the square. It was 19 Celsius and people were happy and they were relaxed. And I didn't see people drinking or being weird, just happy. And they were enjoying life. And then I thought, none of you could possibly relate to the bunch of fools who claim to be our leaders. If Rutte was there, he'd be sitting on his own. If Starmer was there, people would be complaining to him. If Meloni was there, I'd certainly talk to her and also Orban. But the rest of them, you just think this has just gone so horribly wrong now. It's so horribly wrong, and it's depressing. The weather in Britain right now is depressing. It's still a storm. It's raining. It's dark. That's why the plane was jumping around so much. That's why I was late, I guess. But the real storm reminds me more of a poem, which you will probably know, which is The Hollow Man. Do you know it?
Yes, I do, yeah.
And I'll just quote a little bit of it for you because I think this summarizes. I don't want to get all heavy and so on, but it just sums it up. We are the hollow men. We are the hollow men. We are the stuffed men, leaning together, headpiece filled with straw. Alas, our dried voices, when we whisper together, are quiet and meaningless as wind in dry grass or rat's feet over broken glass in our dry cellar. And the end of it goes like this. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And that's what we're getting from our politicians now.
I think you're absolutely right. The way that it's going at the moment is quite crazy. I've got a quiz for you, Lembit. Can you tell me
another one?
What this is?
It's a ship.
Well done. Well done.
It's a military ship, and the one behind it is probably a floating dry dock, I suspect.
Let me see if I can give you a bigger clue with this picture.
Okay. Is it a Russian thing?
Okay. Louis Bastos is about to tell us because he's a bit of a nautical cove.
This is China, Russia, and South Africa are doing sea trials or military training in South Africa.
They are. This is the BRICS Navy that they are putting together, Lembit, to protect their oil tankers. And they are going to be using, once they've got this all ironed out, there's China, Russia, South Africa, and many other countries are going to be joining in to protect their oil tankers and guide them through the high seas.
That's amazing. This is the consequence of the foolishness which we've been seeing here. Bear in mind, again, as I said earlier on, the United Kingdom is now guilty of complicit of being involved in this. They're complicit in the activity by helping and purloining other people's ships, Ukrainian ships, from what you said, in international waters is a really bad look. It's just terrible they've done that.
Not good.
It's
not good.
Comedic almost. Yeah.
Somebody pop their hand up then.
Yeah, quick one, Warren. Is it a bit of a case that with China they might have some like what I call unemployed ships where they won't actually have people on them as well?
Well, you never know. That wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? Let's have a look at the state of America for a bit of fun. We've got a couple of things for you before we go. This is over a pizza. Apparently, this happened in San Francisco, Lembit. Never come between a man and his pizza. Seems that stealing pizza in America is a heinous crime, Lembit, especially in San Francisco. Let's have a night ride through LA for a minute.
We're going to pop up right here. Excuse me, thank you very much. So I can give you guys a little bit more accurate feeling of what it feels like to ride through here. Got my light off and we're creeping. Here's how we're looking. Pretty wild. Get off the sidewalk. Here we are. Let me show you guys what this is like after dark. It's a whole new scene. It's a lot different than it is during the day, to say the least. Squeeze my way through. But you know, as long as you mind your business, you don't really have much of a problem. Just want to keep on rolling. It's actually not too bad right now. A lot of people waiting for a transit bus. This is, yeah. Look at this, bro. What's going on back here? I don't even want to get too involved. It's crazy again. Oh my God. Damn, bro. Oh. Clearly it's not doing much. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like it's doing too much. I did not mean to beam directly in that guy's face. I didn't mean to do it.
There we go. Los Angeles. Various parts of California and America seem to look like this. They've got a real problem, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. They looked to me like many of them were subject to that very bad drug, fentanyl.
Yeah.
But you could find places like that in Britain, I'm sorry to say. Maybe not quite that bad. But it's just, just the decline and fall of Western civilization.
Does seem that.
But this species of ours has got great potential and great capacity. But yeah, I've seen people destroy themselves in this country, and somehow they just couldn't overcome their demons. But it's totally out of control now, I think.
Mark Onza, and then we've got one final item.
Yeah. Warren, this problem with these fentanyl zombies, isn't it another money-making scam where these states and governments are getting up to £1 million per person?
Yeah, they don't want you off them. They don't want you off fentanyl. I mean, basically what they do, these drug clinics don't get any, these people who are meant to be helping people off the streets, they're actually helping them so that they don't overdose. And this is the thing, because they can get more funding. If they actually clean the problem up, there are, in California alone, there are 4,244 of these clinics. 4,244. And their success rate in getting people completely off of drugs is 3%. And the funding, have a guess how much the funding is?
Millions.
$1 billion a year.
3.6 billion a year. So if they are successful and get you off the drugs, they don't get any more funding. Crazy, isn't it?
Extraordinary, yeah.
One last story, because this is important. Oh, we got somebody putting their hand up. Eric?
Yeah. They found out that approximately 65 to 70% of that money was going towards salary and upper level of those places, and only about 25 to 30% was trickling down.
As all charities do. As all charities do. You're absolutely right. But we are going to give a big shout out and a joyous story, really, for the little guy. At the weekend, now the American people might not know this too much, but we have a game here called football. You call it, we throw it about in the air, but over there you call it soccer. But the FA Cup, the third round of the FA Cup took place, and statistically on Saturday, the holders of the FA Cup, Crystal Palace, were knocked out by Macclesfield Town. Now, we get cup upsets and everything else. Statistically, Macclesfield were the lowest ever rated team ever to knock out one of the big boys. So they were 116 places below Crystal Palace in the table, in the obviously the tiers of the leagues and everything else. And this happened, would you believe? Macclesfield eventually won by 2-1. And just to let you know, that 7 years ago, a millionaire bought the club after he'd been out on a 5-day bender as a joke. And of course, they turned the club around. And now, of course, they've created the biggest upset in FA Cup history statistically. Robert.
Not only Macclesfield, but Mansfield have beaten from the League Two, I think, have beaten Sheffield United at Sheffield.
Yes, they have.
Also, Weston-super-Mare
lost 3-2.
But they were they fought back twice against Grimsby.
Yes, they did. Grimsby are League One, I believe.
And of all of those clubs, Weston-super-Mare, none of them are full-time professionals.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Good point, well made. We won't talk about Millwall; they got hammered by Burnley. But very, very simply, congratulations go to Macclesfield, who were a club who were going out of existence just a few years ago, and there they are, knocking out the FA Cup holders and Premier Division, and of course, Crystal Palace, a team that play in Europe. But statistically, Lembit, the greatest ever victory from a non-league side.
Oh, it's great to see it. Yeah, I saw the story and I was really pleased to see that. I think that there's something really satisfying when all that money is just pointless because the little guy does it. Just imagine being part of that team. Let's hope they can get a couple of